Good evening and thank you for joining us. The City of Thunder Bay has filed an appeal of a court ruling in the James Street Swing Bridge case. CN closed the bridge to vehicular traffic due to safety concerns following a 2013 fire, but has continued to run rail traffic over the structure. In June, a Superior Court justice rejected an application by the city calling for CN Rail to abide by a 1906 contract to maintain the bridge in perpetuity. In his ruling, Justice Patrick Smith agreed with an argument put forward by CN that the 1906 agreement covered bridge maintenance only for the type of traffic that existed at that time, such as streetcars and horses and carts. But in its appeal, the city disputes that finding. It also points out several other errors in the ruling, including no finding that the 1906 agreement was at an end, nor any requirement for CN to provide reasons that would excuse it from honoring that agreement. CN officials have declined comment on the appeal. A major victory today for the City of Thunder Bay. It's been announced the city has won its bid to host the 2020 Special Olympics Winter Games. With that win, it will be repeating the role it played when it hosted the same event in 2011. Molly Fromer has more.
There was some tough competition for the right to host the 2020 Special Olympics, as Thunder Bay had to compete against the city of Regina. And perhaps it was Outtrack Record that won the day, as our previous experience in hosting the games in 2011 was a huge success. Special events developer Paul Burke says the economic impact was anticipated to be in the neighborhood of $5.4 million. But with bowling added to the games lineup, an estimated 200 additional athletes will be visiting in the city in 2020. Burke says that should increase the original estimate substantially.
Very exciting announcement today. Thunder Bay was awarded the 2020 Special Olympics Canada Winter Games. We're really excited. We're going to really enjoy this moment. This is a wonderful moment for our community. As far as the bid itself, a huge document that was produced for this, over 100 pages, detailing everything you can think of for an event. And then the two-day site visit where we toured the Special Olympic officials around to the various facilities. Lots of work. I think what came through for Thunder Bay, though, was the community spirit. We saw today that our local Special Olympians, when they're in the house, it brings a lot of energy, and they're really excited, as you could tell by their reaction today, to be hosting their friends in 2020.
I knew from the very get-go when we first started this campaign that we were going to nail it, and we were going to win it, and we won it. It brings a few tears to my eyes because it's just an emotional but yet very exciting day for this organization.
The 8-sport event will be held from February 25th to February 29th. It includes alpine skiing, 5-pin bowling, cross-country skiing, figure skating, floor hockey, snowshoeing, curling, and speed skating. Athletes who will be participating were thrilled by today's announcement.
It's pretty awesome. Can't wait to see what happens. Hoping to do bowling or at least basketball maybe or something.
I never knew that since Thunder Bay was a small city, I never thought we can actually hold a big competitive league for 2020.
As you can tell, the athletes are looking forward to this event. The Special Olympics Committee say they will need around 750 volunteers. Molly Fromer, TPT News.
After 16 days on the picket line, workers at Thunder Bay's Lakehead Motors have agreed to the terms of a new contract. Members of Machinists Local 1120 voted to accept the new deal last night. Workers walked off the job on August 2nd in a dispute over wages and pensions. Union President Peter Tapeto says they had to adjust the way pensions were expected to be paid to employees.
We settled a number of issues that the company had, and we addressed them during the course of the agreement that we had settled on, and also the members had to make some certain concessions, but we thought they were fair, and we got we have an agreement, 84% ratification, so the membership was relatively pleased with the offer the company gave us. We now have the travel allowance, all issue control. They get 8 hours of travel time over and above the 8 hours for the day in the training, so that's been addressed because there wasn't none of that.
The new agreement is for 5 years. Efforts to obtain comment from Lakehead Motors were unsuccessful. On the heels of yesterday's funding announcement of up to $60 million to bring power transmission lines to Pikangikum First Nation, the federal government has announced it's also providing $16.5 million for housing in 17 First Nations in the Northwest. Indigenous and Northern Affairs Minister Carolyn Bennett made the announcement today in Kenora with MP Bob Nault. $1.1 million will go to Grassy Narrows First Nation, Shoal Lake 40 will receive $1.5 million, and Lac Seul First Nation will get $1.3 million. The money will be used to build and renovate existing homes as well as creating new approaches to on-reserve housing. Bennett also announced that the government would be investing $1.2 million to end long-term drinking water advisories in 8 communities. A Red Lake man is facing charges in connection with a series of alleged historic sexual assaults. 69-year-old Stephen McCumber has been charged with 3 counts of indecent acts with a female. The offenses date back to 1973 and 1974. McCumber is scheduled to appear in court in Red Lake on August 30th. And Thunder Bay police are reporting a quick arrest following a Southside convenience store robbery yesterday evening. A man wielding a baseball bat entered the South Franklin Street business at around 7:30 and demanded cash before fleeing the scene. Police say information they received led them to an East Moody Street apartment where a suspect was taken into custody. A 20-year-old man has been charged with robbery with a weapon, wearing a disguise, and breach of recognizance. Well, for the first time in nearly 40 years, Thunder Bay is about to experience a solar eclipse, or at least 74% of one. People around North America are getting ready for the celestial crossing on Monday afternoon. Colton Prail has the details on how best to take in the upcoming astronomical phenomenon.
On Monday, August 21st, one of the biggest stellar events of the decade will take place across the Western Hemisphere. For roughly 3 hours, the moon will obscure our view of the sun, creating a solar eclipse that will slice its way across the United States, from Portland, Oregon to Charleston, South Carolina. The president of the local astronomical society will be among those watching it.
This particular eclipse is significant because it crosses the continental United States from coast to coast. It is within reach of one of the most affluent societies on Earth, and nearly everyone in the United States and in most of heavily populated areas of Canada are within a few hours' drive of the center line to be able to see this.
100 million people are expected to take in the eclipse, making this one of the most talked about natural phenomena of the year. Though the nearest center point to Thunder Bay is in Indiana, most of the eclipse will still be visible.
So from Thunder Bay, we'll see 74% of the sun covered up by the moon's disk. So if you have solar glasses or proper equipment to look at the sun, you'll see 3/4 of the sun bit out by the moon. So it's just going to be a crescent sun.
It's not enough to simply look at the sky to see the eclipse. The way the light interacts with your pupils in events like these can cause permanent damage. Instead, special viewing glasses are needed. Roy says they can be purchased online or found locally through issues of Sky News magazine.
Sky News magazine, which is currently on newsstands, has in between the pages, so if you look into the center page, these glasses. You just take them out, rip them out. Some will have handles on them so they can form like real glasses. What you want to do is first check to the sky to make sure that there's no holes in it, to make sure you can't see any points of light. If you do, that's okay. Just get a felt marker to plug up the little holes. And then you can put them up to the sun like so, and you'll be able to see the disk of the sun, and you can watch as the moon crosses the surface of the sun.
Well, the solar eclipse is set to begin locally at about 12:52. It'll reach its peak around 2:30 and finally wrap up shortly after 3:30. Roy says the best place to enjoy these eclipses is in wide open spaces with unobstructed views, such as the park behind me. If you missed this solar eclipse, don't fret, there will be another. Unfortunately, it's not coming until 2024. Colton Prail, TBT News.
And the popular Open Streets Thunder Bay event is set to make its return this weekend. And Eco Superior is hoping large numbers of people will turn out to celebrate the spirit of community. A section of Algoma from John Street to Boulevard Lake will be closed to traffic on Sunday. That will leave the Algoma corridor vehicle-free to allow people to enjoy a wide array of events and displays during the day. Program coordinator Ashley Priam says it's a chance for people to be active and socialize with neighbors. And Priam says this fourth edition of the event comes in large part thanks to a Canada 150 Community Celebration grant.
And we're building up, we're building on the previous Open Streets programs. We knew there was a lot of support for the program in the past, and because of an Ontario 150 community grant, we were able to offer 3 programs this year.
Open Streets will run from noon until 3 on Sunday afternoon. Priam says 3 more similar events are scheduled for the coming months. And a longtime Chippewa Park staple is scheduled to receive a few touch-ups in the near future. The carousel at Chippewa has been a fixture and children's favorite for decades, but it's begun to show some wear and tear after all that use. Now a plan's in place to restore the carousel to its former glory. Corey Nordstrom explains.
Originally purchased in 1934 by the Fort William Parks Board, there are thought to be less than 10 models of this specific carousel in all of North America. The carousel embodies the spirit of simpler times and is always sure to draw hordes of children who want their turn going around, which is exactly why the City of Thunder Bay and the Friends of Chippewa are glad they can begin the process of restoring it. President of the Friends of Chippewa, Lorraine Lordy Krawchuk, says they've been looking forward to this day and are thrilled to be able to get to work on bringing new life to the carousel.
Well, we're really excited because we've just gotten some funding to be able to start a plan to restore the carousel. It's one of just a few left in North America of its kind and age, so we really are looking forward to preserving that.
Although still in running order, there is quite a bit of work they'll need to complete. It includes refurbishing the horses and carriages, along with the lights and gears, and multiple electrical and mechanical upgrades. The city's manager of parks and open spaces, Corey Halverson, says that with this being such an old attraction, they need to go through all the necessary channels to bring it back to its former glory.
It's a significant amusement ride. It's over 100 years old. So there's a real heritage component to it, and yes, it's still in fairly good shape, and we're just looking for opportunities to bring it further into the future.
A spokesperson for the Friends of Chippewa say they will soon be announcing a fundraiser to raise money for the restoration of the carousel. Corey Nordstrom, TVT News.
What a fascinating bit of history right there in Chippewa Park, eh, Chef?
Oh, for sure. Fiona, earlier today almost felt like fall